Welcome back to the channel, everybody. Me again, Shannon Fox here, to go to Patriots 2 channel. And I want to read you a meme I found over here on True Social, and I thought it was as accurate as any meme I've ever seen. It says the Democrat Party is not a political party. They're a foreign-controlled domestic terrorism organization masquerading as a political party to bring down America. And that is the absolute truth. From what I've seen over the last 4 years, it seems pretty undeniable. Now, I have got a pretty long clip of Elon Musk's interview with some of the Doge guys on Fox News. About 15 minutes long. We'll do it absolutely last. But first, let's run through a couple of really great highlights of the day. First one is the Department of You Said, or the You Said is no longer a thing because the Doge Department. It is officially disbanded today. They're taking the signs off the buildings. Places being going to be put up for auction. The building is, from what I understand. You said it's done. They are going to reallocate the things they do need to send money to. Other say they do want to send some foreign aid to another country. Instead of killing all that, they're transferring that funding set up to another agency. That way, nobody gets left out that actually they think they should actually give the money to. So it's not 100% dead, but the actual you said itself, the mechanism itself is dead. But some of the things will still be funded. This was my point. But let's go ahead and get into a couple of things great on the news. Now, one of the guys that speaks here with Elon Musk, he's one of the Doge guys. He is currently the founder of Airbnb and is working with Doge to digitize the federal retirement process, which currently takes forever because of this cave. I know y'all remember about the limestone cave with the elevator that you got to go down. You can only retire, get your retirement files to the top of the elevator, and it takes months or whatever because there's a backlog of people that are waiting to use the elevator next. Remember the crazy story? Well, they have went in, this guy has went in and effectively in just days turned all this paper data into uh, digital data. Good stuff. So this will be an online digital process. It will take a few days at most. It is an injustice to civil servants who are subjected to these processes that are older than half of the people watching your show tonight. So they're going to make it where you can expedite your retirement if you decide to retire from the government. Instead of it taking 6 months or a year for you to get your money, you should be able to get it pretty much ASAP. It's good news. I'm glad to see that they're getting stuff done like that. They're not just finding the waste, fraud, and abuse. They're fixing things, and that's the point. That's why I'm going to bring y'all that entire uh, 12, 15-minute clip. But first, let's get into this. It says Michigan Republican lawmakers send a letter to Pam Bondi asking the Attorney General to investigate GBI strategies, which I have reported on several times. They are one of the ballot harvesting schemes that the Democrats use to their advantages, and other voter registration groups. There are several besides GBI strategies out there that the Democrats use, and I'm glad to see all of them that were weaponized in the state of Michigan to work for the Democrats and against Republicans are getting looked into. And it's not only Michigan, Minnesota and Wisconsin have done the same type thing. Throw the letter to Pam Bondi about, hey, come look at our state. Our elections were not run properly. Now, in Connecticut as well, this lady here was actually kind of famous because she got caught on film. James O'Keefe showed this. Several people showed this video footage. This lady works inside the voting place, works right inside the building, and she kept coming out and stuffing ballots continuously, many at a time. It says Connecticut GOP lawmakers alert Pam Bondi after 150 election fraud charges filed in Bridgeport, Connecticut. Democrat ballot stuffing case suggests coordinated statewide voter fraud efforts. So probably another NGO paid for by the Biden administration, trickling money downhill to these committee members that are actually running the elections, the people that have access to the ballots that shouldn't. And they're doing the nasty. They're pulling the 2,000 mules thing. No doubt about it, folks. Yeah, this lady was caught on film stuffing. But I'm glad to see that these states are sending this orders to Pam Bondi to look at. It looks like Pam Bondi will be doing investigate. Will be sending probably letters to Cash Patel or Dan Bongino, their team, to go ahead and start investigations if they haven't already into the swing state election shenanigans that went on in 2020, if not every single state. And having these cases like this come forward and is actually a good thing. It'll help expose it and hopefully get these people locked up so they'll know better than to try it ever again. We want them to fear election fraud. We want people to fear stuff in the ballots. We want people to know that if you think $10 a ballot is good money, is it worth your freedom? That's what we need to get to with these people, and not just the people stuffing the ballots in these elections, but the lawmakers, the judges, the city councilmen, the people that are actually activists, politicians that are doing the dirty. Those are some of the worst of the worst. They're the ones that have got the money and the manpower to steal big. Now, this here I thought was a great clip. I want to bring to y'all. If y'all remember this guy was on TikTok. He's a Venezuelan, and he was telling everybody, "Come to America. It's not a problem. You get everything you want for free. You can squat in somebody's house. They can't kick you out." I remember this guy actually reported on this months and months ago. It says lazy illegal alien influencer who coached other invaders on how to take over homes and invoke squatter rights was deported to Venezuela. Yep, this guy made himself famous, didn't he? He put himself right on the radar, and I ain't mad about it. And I forgot his name. Let's see here. It says Venezuela's Minister of Interior, Justice and Peace, DeSaldo Cabela, said Marino, that was his name, Marino, was welcome back, though a social media influencer disrupted the fight. The commotion was terrible enough that Marino had to be placed in his own plane section with additional security. Got ugly. Okie doke. All right, let's get into this Elon Musk wonderful interview. This was amazing, folks. Just all the bits of information that they spill out about just the details of the waste and the fraud.
The ways that the government is defrauded is that the computer systems don't talk to each other. So if the computer systems don't talk to each other, then you can exploit that gap, and fraudsters exploit that gap, take advantage. For example, there were over $300 million of small business administration loans that has been given out to people under the age of 11.
Well, actually, to add to it, it's 300 million under the age of 11 and over 300 million to over the age of 120.
Definitely
small business loans.
Correct.
Yes. The oldest American is 114. So it's safe to say if their age is 115 or above, they're fake. Or they should be in the Guinness Book of World Records. And we should not be giving out loans to babies. So the youngest recipient of a Small Business Administration loan is a 9-month-old, which is a very, very precocious baby we're talking about here. So obviously it was just fraudulent. And they do terrible things. They actually will see that a kid's been born. They will steal that kid's social security number and then take out a loan and leave that kid with a bad credit rating. There was literally a baby. The terrible things are being done is what we're saying. And we're stopping these terrible things.
And you can stop it? I mean,
we are stopping it.
The reason this is happening is because the two systems are not talking to each other.
Yes.
Right? And so you don't know at the Small Business Administration that you're giving a loan to a 9-month-old, which happened in one case, because you're not cross-referencing that with the Social Security Administration data that has birth dates. So that very, very simple fix eliminates tremendous fraud. And that there are multiple systems across the government where the systems are not speaking with one another. And if you just solve that simple problem, you would solve a huge amount of fraud.
Are you so one of the ways that, like one of the key tricks that the fraudsters pull is that they will use the fact that someone is marked as live, and as sort of just that social security number is marked as live in Social Security, and then get disability and unemployment insurance for a dead person. Because the databases don't talk to each other, all they got was from Social Security is like, is this person alive? Yes, they're not alive. It's falsely marked. The person is falsely marked as alive, Social Security, but they didn't. But that person, a fraudster can now get unemployment and disability from a dead person.
See what he's saying there? He is basically saying that Pablo Paco can take his new name, which is Juan, and apply it to his new non-deceased Social Security number, which may be just a baby that was just born. And so, just the fact that the Social Security number is not dead; it's active. The guy can collect unemployment, and several other benefits because of the fact that if the recipient was dead, then the Social Security wouldn't be available. And so all they have to do is find a live number, basically, and then they can take it with a different name and collect benefits on it. And so the name and the Social Security number don't match, but because the government computers aren't catching this, it's an easy way to steal.
This is happening all the time at scale.
Are you surprised at some of the legal efforts and some of the judges that have weighed in? There's about 8 or 10 now of these cases that are at least temporary holds. They're being challenged by the DOJ.
Right.
Are you surprised by that pushback?
Well, it's the D.C. Circuit is notorious for having a very far left bias, and when you look at the people close to some of these judges, where are they working? Oh, they're working at these NGOs. Oh, they're the ones getting this money. Does that seem like a system that lacks corruption? It sounds like corruption to me.
Last thing, do you guys all see this as a patriotic duty? I mean, is that really what this is about?
It's essential.
I do, 100%. I was running 5 businesses in Houston, and I left that. I left great people to do this, and my wonderful wife said, go for it, and here I am. But I feel like this is me giving back to the country.
If we don't do this,
Impressive.
we're sunk. The ship, unless this exercise is successful, the ship of America will sink. That's why we're doing it.
Well, gentlemen, I really appreciate the time. Hassan, Interior Department, you're a former oil company CEO. You're reviewing contracts before they're approved for funding. What are you finding?
Well, Elon and Steve kind of stole my thunder a little bit, but I actually found that customer service survey contract. I actually have an example of one right here. I could have done this in high school, and I found it. I found it on the weekends because under the Biden administration, there was no departmental oversight within the Department of Interior whatsoever. None. We are now reviewing every single contract, every single grant, and when things come to my attention that don't make sense, I'm bringing him to Secretary Burgum, and he's been fantastic. He's a businessman. He's very supportive of Doge. It's been wonderful to work with him.
Is the battle between government of decades and decades of buildup and business, which you guys are, is that like a train hitting each other? I mean, it seems like it's pretty disruptive.
Well, this is a revolution. And I think it might be the biggest revolution in government since the original revolution.
That's what I'm talking about. This is a revolution, folks, whether you realize it or not. It's not a revolution fought with weapons, guns and things, and cannons, but a revolution that is being fought with AI, with truth, with so many forms of technology, with some of the smartest brains on the planet, all working collectively as one unit to try to fix the problem with our economy, with our spending, with our waste, our abuse, with our government oversight that's not actually been overseeing much of nothing. Haven't been doing their job. The oversight, government oversight offices are not doing their job, and the military have these. The military, the Pentagon, all the branches of the military have these oversight committees as well. It's supposed to prevent waste, fraud, and abuse. But obviously, it takes a team of people that have no skin in the game to come in there to fix the problem, and they're doing it not because none of them need the money. They're doing it because they all want to see our country succeed. That's amazing to me. Welcome to the revolution, folks, and this is a revolution, a different type, but it's happening. We're taking back the populism is happening in America and actually across the world. It's growing, and it's becoming uh, the new wave of the future versus this back and forth with socialism and weak Republicans running the country back and forth, back and forth. We're onto a new way of thinking, America first thinking, and it shows with the cabinet that Trump has put together, with the team that Trump and Elon and Vance have put together to fix our country. And I'm just so proud to be a part of it, be a part of this American history, this revolution, this changing of the guard. That is a whole lot more than a changing of the guard. Is a changing of the structures that have been corrupted in such a way that we're going to clean the place up and we're going to get it in order to where hopefully there's real oversight and all the things that we expect out of our government. And these guys are the ones that are going to help bring it into fruition. So hats off to every single one of them. Thank you for the day, Doge team. Thank you, Jesus.
But at the end of the day, America is going to be in much better shape. America will be solvent. The critical programs that people depend upon will work, and it's going to be a fantastic future. But are we going to get a lot of complaints along the way? Absolutely. You know, one of the things I learned at PayPal was you know who complains the loudest and with the most amount of fake righteous indignation? The fraudsters. It's a tell. There's some of these NGOs that are crazy, like the $2 billion to Stacey Abrams' NGO that basically didn't exist and suddenly gets $2 billion awarded from the federal government. Why? And there are many such cases like that.
I think that most people, common sense-wise, would say the fraud's got to end.
Yeah.
They're concerned about the 94-year-old mother who skips a check or somehow doesn't get what she's supposed to get.
Right. And what we're trying to say is actually that the 94-year-old grandmother is actually, as a result of Doge's work, going to get her check. She's not going to be robbed by fraudsters like she's getting robbed today. And the solvency of the federal government will ensure that she continues to receive those Social Security checks, that Medicare continues to work, without which we're all doomed. The reason we're doing this is because if we don't do it, America's going to go insolvent. We're going to go bankrupt. And nobody's going to get anything.
Why are you guys all doing it? I mean, you can pipe up, but you don't have to be here, right? I mean, you don't have to be doing this.
I have blessed with four beautiful children, my wife and I. But we have a real fiscal crisis, and this is not sustainable. And what's worse, back to my children and everyone else's children, is we are burdening them with that debt. And it's only going to grow.
Steve, there's not a lot of hierarchy here. You guys are kind of all approaching it in different, silos, but with the same kind of goal, right? I mean, this is really Silicon Valley, private sector colliding with government.
Yeah, exactly, and we're headed in a bad path, but the chance of success exists. And just the one that just is in my head right now, which is a fairly mundane one, but I think is very illustrative, is credit cards. There are in the federal government around 4.6 million credit cards for around 2.3 to 2.4 million employees. This doesn't make sense.
Right.
And so one of the things all of the teams have worked on is we've worked with the agencies and said, do you need all of these credit cards? Are they being used? Can you tell us physically where they are?
I hope they're getting frequent flyers.
Actually, on a different note, the rewards program the federal government has is actually not very good. That's a whole other...
It's a negotiation.
Right, yeah, exactly. But so far, the teams have worked together, and they've reduced it from 4.6 million to 4.3 million. So
we're taking it easy. But clearly there should not be, more. There should not be more credit cards than there are people. Yeah.
Joe, middle-level employees, are they seeing a benefit to being empowered by taking out bureaucracy? I mean,
absolutely. I mean, I think what you're seeing is taking the best of Silicon Valley and the business world and bringing it into the government. We're bringing the best practices and the best methodologies, and people are inspired. Right, especially on the retirement process, which I can speak to. They've been trying to modernize and get off of paper since early 2000s, very unsuccessfully. Every attempt has gone over budget and been canceled because it hasn't been successful. And so, I showed up and I feel like I'm here because it's an interesting problem. We can use design to solve it and good engineering. and really create a better experience for everybody.
We're talking about elementary financial controls that are necessary for any company to function. So, like, if the federal government if a commercial company operated the way the federal government does, then it would be immediately go bankrupt. It would be delisted. The officers would be arrested. And the changes we're putting in place will enable the federal government to pass an audit. It will enable taxpayers to know where the money is going and know that their hard-earned tax dollars are being spent well.
That right there is what is important. That from this point forward, everything is done efficiently. I mean, it's bad to be ripped off last week. It's good to find out about it today, but it's worse to let it happen tomorrow. And that's where they're at with this. And I'm so glad to see they're fixing it as they go. That's wonderful news. Preventing it from ever happening again or from happening again in the near future, at any rate.
Exclusive interview, a fascinating interview alongside 7 members of the Doge team, giving a peek behind the curtain of President Trump's cost-cutting department.
It was a riveting 50 minutes. The team consists of a wide range of experts, including a former rocket scientist and one of the co-founders of the rental site, a billionaire himself from Airbnb.
So the Doge team also consists of engineers and all have the same goal, to slash wasteful government spending. Watch.
Our goal is to reduce the deficit by $1 trillion.
You technically are a special government employee, and you're supposed to be 130 days. Are you going to continue past that, or do you think that's what you're going to do? Or?
Well, I think we will have accomplished most of the work required to reduce the deficit by $1 trillion within that time frame. We actually want to be careful in the cuts, so we want to measure twice, if not thrice, and cut once. Actually, that is our approach. They may characterize it as shooting from the hip, but it is anything but that.
Some people say this shouldn't take a rocket scientist. Steve Davis, you are a rocket scientist.
Used to be. That all of us are willing to kind of put our lives on hold in order to do. I think the thing that's special right now is we actually believe there's a chance to succeed.
We really believe that the government can have an Apple Store-like experience. Beautifully designed, great user experience, modern systems.
All of these people look so normal, but so brilliant at the same time. I mean, it just casually says, well, you know, I used to be a rocket scientist. Yeah. And now we're getting free resources of some of the smartest individuals in our country. The leaders should be more grateful that we have access to this amount of resources. They built great companies, have great success, not asking for a paycheck. They're just trying to cut the waste in the country right now.
I agree, folks. These folks are doing it. Most of these folks have gotten that are either millionaires or billionaires, and they just really don't need the money. And I'm just glad to see that we have people in this country that believe that their time is more valuable serving our country, even if it's doing something like Doge, than worrying about, I got to get that next dollar. Glad to see it. Glad to see it. Great Americans.
That is so hard.
One bank account.
Yeah, even to update it, you couldn't train people on it. So they can come in there and modernize it in real time. And what they should do now, I think, is and you would know better, there are a roster of 24 Democrats that could just come in, look over the shoulder of what they're doing. I know you can get doge.gov.com. I know you can go there now. But so they could hear some of this without the cameras and tell me what the problem is.
What Congress used to do, you guys, is just tell, like, there were a few good guys in there that saw the race and wanted, but they never did anything about it. All they did was print up these big books.
That's absolute truth. Before, in the past, Congress would say, we got to stop the waste, fraud, and abuse. We got to cut spending. We got to save the economy. We got to fix the inflation. And then they get in there and go, let's spend some more money. Let's go on and not worry about inflation this year. We'll pass the buck for about another 2 years, and we'll vote on it again then. In the meantime, let's everybody get paid. That's what's been going on in Congress, and it's been taken out on the American people because we don't see what's in the bills. Most of them don't see what's in the bills, so I know we don't see what's in the bills. And hopefully that will be one of the things that Doge is, or maybe Congress, or Trump, maybe executive order, I don't know how that works, is able to do, is to get us the ability to read the bills before they're ever put on the floor for a vote. If it's a 1,000-page bill, they ought to give the public a week or two to read it before we decide if we like it or not. Before we decide to call our local politician or our state representatives and tell them we love it or hell no. See, that would be the right way to handle things, and I hope that does that among their many things of fixing the system. So what I got for you today, folks, like the guy I really listen to a lot on X says, welcome to the revolution. We are in a revolution, folks, and it is a wonderful thing to be living through. It is a great time to be alive in history. After what we've been through for the last 4 years, we're now over the hill and picking up steam. I love it. I love it. Like, subscribe, and share. Vote the Patriots. Everybody have a great weekend.